Okay, welcome to Diary of a Dragon Priestess, and I'm your host, Yolandi. And today feels like it's going to be a really yummy episode. Um, it's like a real diary entry here for you today, where I'll be talking about my recent trip to Morocco and everything that unfolded, and just how that weaves into also what I'm working on at the moment, the new course with the dragons as well, which is crazy. So I've got a lot to tell you guys. And I actually even made some notes because I was like, so much stuff happened, and to try and weave it into a cohesive story that makes sense is actually quite interesting. So it's been really good, like playing what happened for me and actually going through it a few times, and that's really beautiful. So here I am today, happy to share this with you, and I hope that you'll find something in here that resonates, because it's been a really transformative and very, very powerful trip for me. And even though this month was absolute mayhem, like I think I've been home for 5 days. Now I've landed, so I'm back from Lisbon, where I also spent time with my husband to celebrate our 20th anniversary. Beginning of the month, I met up with my brother and his family, with my son, and we also spent time in Slovenia. So it's been a little bit crazy. My little British passport is full of stamps right now, and quite happy to be traveling so much. But here I am. Okay, so just to put into context, I started looking at Kate. So Kate Lambert, she's the lady that I went to Morocco with, and her retreat was called Temple. And I started looking at Kate's work, I think back in 2024 already. I can't even remember how I got onto her work, but Kate's work is really about like sexuality, liberation, about women really reconnecting with their bodies, with themselves, and empowerment through your body, which obviously for me has always been a thing, right? Like I absolutely love that. And I knew that I had to go on this retreat, but last year wasn't the year because I was going to Mexico, and Mexico felt more important than this. And I was just like, cool, I know she's going to host one the year after in 2026. So I put myself like on the list immediately. I was just like, I'm coming in 2026. I know I have to be there. But I'd gone to Mexico, where I spent time with the Mayan elders and learned about like water weaving and all of that. And that was really important. That was a big part of the earthwork stuff that I do in terms of connecting with Gaia and working with her. And that all happened before the Dragon Course last year. So it felt really, really important. And so I decided to go on this, and that's what happened now in the middle of April. And a few days before, I think it was about 2 evenings before I left, I did a ritual. So I did a really witchy ritual to meet the part of me where I haven't seen myself properly before, right? So I went on this journey, and I went into this cave in my journey and this visioning process. And what I found was Medusa. And I found this Medusa version of myself in the back of this cave, stood there, this woman with this wild hair, feral and wild, and also a bit like angry, right? And I found her in the back of this cave, and obviously my bouncy Yolandi self was like in there and going, how's it? And I'm like looking at this part of myself, and I'm like, whoa, she's like intense, like she's really fucking intense. And I asked her to come with me. I asked her to come out of the cave because I want to integrate her. I want to start working with her. And I thought, you know what better place than taking this newly found version of myself to Morocco to really explore her. And that actually became the intention for my long weekend there, for the 5 days we were there, where I was like, I want to meet my wild and feral self. I want to meet that free version of me, that's full of pleasure. And I mean, she was also like really like she's really committed and devoted, and like she felt really strong in herself about what she wanted, and I wanted to meet that part of myself. So in this ritual, I obviously met her, and then I went. And so it was really interesting when I arrived there, because the place in Marrakesh where we were staying, called Menira Palms, if you ever go to Marrakesh, please go there. It's the most incredible spot. Um, and it was basically a retreat center, but you can stay there like individuals as well. But for us, we had the entire retreat center to ourselves, which was absolutely beautiful. And as I walked in, I also realized that where my son and I stayed in 2025 was only a few miles from this place. Like it was literally just down the road from where we were staying this time. And I was like, this is intriguing. It's like really close. And in 2025, when I went there, it was as I was busy doing the dragon course, and we had been working with the water dragons. And so for me at that time, connecting with the land, you know, even though I was on a trip with my kid, like I still do my land work and stuff. And I was just like, I need to find the water here. I need to see where the water is. And I was just like, I kept having to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the land. And eventually it felt like miles underneath the soil, I found the water. And I was just like, oh my God, there is water here, but it is so deep and so far removed from the top where I was stood, obviously. And also in that time when I was visiting there, I had these recollections of a past life that I'd seen a few years prior, where I was in the mountains, in the dry parts of the mountains, and I had been really harmed and hurt by a bunch of men and left for dead, but like seriously, like almost on the brink of death. And I remembered from this past life that there were two women who had come and fetched me and took me to this cave, and I stayed there for months and months in this cave. And they were healer women, and they had helped me, and they were like, I called them the snake women. And these snake women had looked after me and brought me back to life, basically. And in this cave, there were many like drawings on the walls, and it was like a really profound, it was like a resurrection process, basically, in that lifetime. And I didn't understand, like, why am I seeing this? What's it about? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. But it did, you know, on a level, it was like really about like that, that energy of like, you know, having to fight for what you believe in. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you basically will not make it, or you'll get so close to dying for the things that you believed in. And that's what that lifetime felt like to me. Anyway, so that's what I had seen in Morocco, and I knew it was important that I'd go back. But even the trip with my son was like, you know, it's not the time yet. I don't know. There's something here for me to find, but this isn't it. And I always know when I need to go places, right? Like my body's very clear. It's just like, we have to go to this country, or we have to go to this place. And so as I walked into Menira Palms, it was just so beautiful. And Nad's the lady who runs the space, and it's in her family. It's their space. She is British, but she's also Moroccan. Her dad's Moroccan, her mom's British. So she's got a deep connection with the land. Went there, I think, about 8 years ago, she said. And then she's been there ever since, and she's been creating this beautiful sacred space where people come and do really amazing work. And so as I met her, it was so weird, as you know, when you just have that connection with someone and you're like, oh, like I know you, there's something here between us. And as she took me to my room, it was like so beautiful, and it's full of this Moroccan architecture, and it's like these big doors and like massive windows. And I was on the first floor, and I looked out over the garden, and as I stepped up to the windows that opened up, there was a beautiful well there as well that I could see from my room. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's a well here. I love this already. And Nat had these amazing tattoos all over her arms, and I was just like, you know, when you're just drawn in. And so a little bit later, I went to go and have a little sit down. I'd just been traveling since I think I got up at like 4:30 or something. So it's just like, I'm going to have a cup of tea. I'm just going to ground myself, message my husband, tell him I'm here, everything's good. Um, like do a quick hello to everyone. And as I sat down, Nats came to talk to me, and I asked her about the tattoos. And I obviously my first question was like, are these like light language tattoos? Where are they from? And she's like, no, I channeled these, but they are from my ancestors. And she spoke about the ancestors of hers being the Amazigh people who lives in the mountains. So where we were, you could actually see the mountains, and her ancestors, they live there, and these were symbols that she had connected with them, and then she channeled these beautiful symbols. And I looked at these and I'm like, I know these symbols. They were in this like cave that I was in. And so I asked her about the snake woman, and I said, who's the snake woman? Like, what is this? And she said, well, in my tradition, the medicine women have snakes on their houses. And I was just like, okay, that makes sense, the medicine woman of the tribe. And yeah, so I was already like, just like, oh my God, there's so much like woven together. And we just had this instantaneous connection. I just really felt like I knew this woman, and it was so beautiful. And then I also found out later on that they had an earthquake there a while back, and their well the other well had basically closed up, and they needed to drill a new well. And they got a dowser in, and this person had showed them where to drill. And they had found that they had a lake underneath the property, a big lake, but it was 3 football pitches deep. So if you can imagine the length of a football pitch, 3 of them underneath. And I was just like, what the fuck? Because I remembered how hard it was for me to reach the water, and it was so, so far. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And obviously the property that I had stayed on being so close to where Nads is, I'm like, this must be the same lake. There's definitely a connection here. So it was really, really beautiful. And so that was just the first little bit, the start of all of it. And so we then started the retreat, and it was really incredible. And for me, it was so liberating to see so many beautiful women just there for themselves, right? There to really go into the depths of themselves and to work with themselves and to unravel more of who they are. And I was struck by this comfortableness that so many of them had in their bodies and who they were and all of that. And we did some amazing like rituals and ceremonies and things that was really beautiful. But I'm not going to go into too much of that. But what did happen was that on the first day we were there, we were doing a paint ceremony. So basically what it is one of the gorgeous women who was there as a facilitator as well, Jane Crane, and I think Your Wild Truth is her brand on Instagram, so look her up as well. And it was like, so Jane does this thing where she basically puts you all into a circle, and then part of it is that like you'll be painting your body. You will become like a beautiful piece of art, beautiful artwork. And it was really interesting because part of it is that you would do this naked. And for me, it was just like, being South African and having grown up in an environment where like body shame is fucking like, it's the thing, right? Like, everything is wrong. Like your body is sinful and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I could just rattle off about like church and society and family and all of that stuff, right? So, and for me, it was really like, oh my God, I've got to take my clothes off in front of all these people. And I mean, if you think about it, it's just a body. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting. And yet, as I sat there and everyone shared about their body stories and like just the shame and what people had said or how people had behaved or things that had been told to them or, and it was just so amazing. And I realized, oh my God, like shame is such a fucker, because it will stop us from actually expressing ourselves. It will stop us from like really going into the depth of ourselves. And I was just like, fuck this, I'm done with like all of this bullshit of like being in that space where you are constantly almost on high alert, like waiting for the judgment, right? Like that you wait. And in reality, yes, it is there, but also it's a choice to take it, right? And I was just like, I sat there and I very openly said that I'm done with this. I'm done. Like I have 1,000 stories. I have 1,000 stories of why this isn't good, or that part of you isn't good, or why this isn't right. And I was just like, no, I'm fucking done. I'm like, I'm leaving it all here. I'm giving it to Gaia. I am fucking done. And as I basically spoke those words, I could feel that energy just dropping into the earth, and it was so liberating. Took my kit off and just started playing, and we were like, paint fighting, and it was absolutely amazing. It was such a liberating experience, and we were all covered in paint and looked like these amazing, like beautiful artworks that we were, and everyone different shapes and sizes, and it was just like so amazing, because this was just humans in their bodies having a fun experience. And I was just like, oh my God, like life should be like this. And we really spoke about like the traditions of even the women of that country, right? Like of Morocco, and the hammam experiences, which I had in Turkey when I was there. And it was such a nourishing experience where the women literally look after each other, and they will bathe each other, and they will basically nurture each other. And I thought to myself, this is missing in our culture. This is so missing in this Western culture of ours. And it's absolutely crazy, because in my experience, the way that the church had created this shameful experience of your body was just absolutely heartbreaking. And so that afternoon really like shifted something in me. There was this part of me that was just like, it's so beautiful to not be in this energy of shame in my body anymore. And it was just like, oh man, it just felt so good. And that evening we worked with the archetypes of the witch and the bitch and the whore in our ceremony. And it was, again, I was very comfortable in my witch, and I was just like, yeah, like, I feel the magic and all of that. And like, I can see myself like weaving things together, and like my inner witch is really happy. She just loves this shit, right? And then when I got to my bitch, that was like a different story. That was like the part of me that is in that space where, oh, I need to make sure that I don't say anything to offend anyone, or that I'm, in that space where I'm always smiling, because then everyone's going to be comfortable. And Kate gave us the instruction, and she said, well, how about you walk in this room of women and you do not smile, and you give them your best bitch look and see what it feels like. And it was hard in the beginning, because I was just like, oh my God, these poor people, like I'm just being so like mean. But I wasn't being mean, I just wasn't smiling, right? Because there's so many instances where when we smile, we are trying to protect ourselves. When we smile, we are like, oh, and especially as a woman, for me, it's just like you smile so that aggression will dissipate. You smile so that you don't feel uncomfortable. You smile so that you can kind of like make things more palatable, right? And I'm just like, okay. So I totally embraced my inner bitch in that session, and I was just like, I fucking like this. And it was so amazing, because I realized how often I'm like walking into the room and I'll just stick a smile on my face so that like everyone will be happy. And as I was like traveling back, I was looking at women, and I was just like, there's many women who's obviously in this, like me, also in perimenopause, like, you're in that like no fucks given stage. And I'm like, yeah, I can totally see myself embracing this fully. And so it was a really liberating experience. And then my inner whore was absolutely happy. She was like, obviously, after my shame shedding experience, I was just like, you know what? I'm taking my body back and I'm taking my pleasure back, and I will allow myself to be free in myself, really. So it was really beautiful. And then I went to bed because I was a little bit knackered. It was a big day. And I woke up at exactly 3:33. So I woke up, got up, and I picked up my phone. I'm like, what's the time? And it was like 3:33. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. And I mean, it was kind of my fault because I had been going to bed and saying to my guides, okay, so, what are we doing? Why am I here? Like, I know there's stuff I need to find here. And as I then woke up and I started journeying with my guides, they made it very clear to me that part of the process is that when we are dropping these these non-aligned, it's not even the right word, these parts of us that do not serve us, these parts of us that keeps us safe, these parts of us that have kept us bound and really in a space of not being ourselves. When we get rid of that, we open ourselves up to a whole new experience. We open ourselves up to meeting and remembering parts of our codes that we weren't able to fully access. And I was just like, okay, this makes so much sense to me. So now if you have been journeying with me, you might have been, you might have worked with me, you might have been like listening to podcasts, whatever, you would have heard me talk about the blueprints. And last year when I started the course with the dragons, they were very clear about like the blueprints and the codes that's coming online now, and the codes that wants to be reclaimed by us, okay, by our beautiful souls. And so I'm just going to explain, if you haven't heard this concept from me before, or like haven't experienced it before, or if you have, I'll just reiterate it again. Anyway, so basically what it is that every single soul comes in with a blueprint. Okay, so the best way that I can visually describe it is that imagine yourself having this beautiful map. Okay, and every code is a little block on this map. Okay, so every single code, and there's multiple codes, right? There's all sorts of different codes that's woven into the land. There's cosmic codes. There's all sorts of stuff. There's codes woven into the water, into sacred sites, etc. And so all of Mother Gaia, she's like a big map, and you have a map. Okay, so your body has a map and Mother Gaia has a map. She's a big body. Think about her like that. So when I come to these places around the world, for instance, and I go there and I have a deep experience of connection with the land, for instance, then that part of my map and the land will basically sync, and it will switch that on in me. Okay. Now, we're not going to have all of our codes switched on in any given lifetime. You will have certain codes that you are here to work with and things that you need to really focus on. And that's generally, think about like your patterns, think about like your blocks, think about like stuff in your life that is difficult for you, right? And that is generally, there's a correlation to the codes within you that needs to be ignited again. And so through our work with Gaia, we can actually, she can assist us in that. But the other thing also that my guide said is that once you have a code switched on in you, you become like a transmitter for the code. Okay. So if you have this code on in you and you meet some people or you're doing some work with people, these codes basically you ignited in other people. So for me, it's really important in my work because as I go around in the world and I'm doing light language transmissions and I'm working with the earth and I then speak about it on my podcast, I am transmitting codes that people have a remembering of the stuff that I share. Okay. There's something in them that switches on and they go, oh my God, I want to live my life in a certain way or do a certain thing. And so the codes get switched on. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So basically, what happens is that the land carries codes as well. And So here in this particular spot where we were staying, that beautiful lake that was underneath there had what my guides called the primal mother codes. Okay, so that's the codes of, like, think about like how in your in your heart, like there's this space where there was a time when humanity was like, we were compassionate. There was a time when we understood each other. There was a time when we lived in the space of like harmony and nurturing and non-judgment and no shame and none of these things, right? So there was a time where it was literally like harmonious. And these primal mother codes is about this way that the women were before, the way that the women were able to hold each other, the way that they were in their power within their bodies. They were not being torn apart by shame or guilt or any of these horrible ideas and beliefs and things that's been given to us from society, from religion, from like family, etc. Right? So there was a time when we believed in ourselves. There was a time when we truly knew what it meant to be in our bodies and what it meant to be connected to Gaia. There was that time. And these beautiful primal mother codes lived in the lands over there. And so in the lands over there was where people would be able to get those codes, and then it would be, it would be connected with the earth. And this place, this land just felt like it wanted to speak. It just wanted to speak so badly. And the water, right? Like it just wanted to connect. And so my guides showed me and they took me down and they're like, these are the codes. And these are the codes that you can get to share with these people, because so many of these people on the retreat actually do this work, right? They do the work of helping women to reclaim their power again. And that's what these codes are here to do. And women to really like love themselves again, and not just women, men as well, right? But these were specifically, it was a women-centric event. So that was like the theme for me. And so these primal mother codes that we then get to experience. And they said to me, because you dropped the shame, you can now access these so freely. These are here for you. These are here for you to actually like work with and like let others experience it as well. And so I thought that was really beautiful. And then the other thing that became clear based on another channeling that happened later after I left was that, as I was there, I was looking at the map of Africa and I just saw this like massive, like dry section across the map, right? You can literally see where it's just like, it's desert. And a while back, I read about like the fact that, 5,500, 6,000 years ago, this land was fertile. There was like, there was grass and there was like, it was like, there were trees, there were and now it's arid, and it's so arid that the water is so deep. And I had seen multiple scenarios where certain kings and advisors, and these advisors were like sorcerers. They were like, they were basically not good intended beings that were with these kings, and how they had gone across the lands and stopped the priestesses from working with the elemental energies of the land, because the role of the priestesses in the majority of societies were to maintain the relationship with Gaia. So even here in the UK, like we had priestesses here, across Europe, etc. Like these priestesses were literally in the position of managing, looking after, ritual, like giving thanks, doing the blessings. That's why we still got the Sabbats. That's why we had such a deep relationship with Gaia, that we would give thanks for the harvest. We would give thanks for the planting seasons. We would give thanks for the sun coming back. Like so these people were literally in that space where they were maintaining the equilibrium and relationship with nature, Gaia, and the world around us. And they became very powerful, because if you work with Gaia in the right way, it is a very powerful expression. It takes, it takes a deep connection to be able to look after the land as a priestess being, right? And so these were very, very powerful women who had these responsibilities. And as this king came in this vision with uh the sorcerer, like stopping the priestesses was like part of their plan, right? And what happened was that as they stopped these priestesses, the water dropped and it went deeper and deeper because Gaia went, I'm not going to give my magic to you. I'm not going to let you have all of the magic, because what you will do is you will use this for ill intent. And so the land went no, and she took the water down, and she allowed the water to go so deep that they couldn't reach it because they didn't have the power or the capability as the priestesses did. And so across the north of the continent, they just moved and moved and moved and moved and moved. And that was how all of these priestesses were basically stopped from doing their jobs. And for me, that lifetime of me, like having almost been like, killed in that space, there was a part of me that was like, oh, you ran away from this. You tried to get away from these horrible people. They wanted your power. They wanted what you had. And it was just like, and then you fought them and they left you for dead and you didn't die. And so for me, it was a real, like a moment of remembering that so many of us doing the work, especially the earth work, we had gone through hell basically to try and protect Gaia from the forces of like cosmic forces, like other forces out there who were trying to take her power and to harvest things from her that was never theirs to take in the first place. Okay, so then for me, this trip was really about like recognizing that and remembering like how this all fits together and going, okay, well, this is what we're doing now. So part of what we are doing is we're taking our power back so that we can work with Gaia in a beautiful way again, and that we can actually, bring the abundance back to the land, bring the abundance back to the communities where we are, all of that, but through really a deep, deep, deep connection with nature and with our surroundings and our environments again. So yeah. So we actually ended up holding a beautiful ceremony there and working with those codes. And so the whole point is that, when we go to these sacred sites, we then take those codes. So everyone who connected with the codes over there takes it back to wherever they come from. And so imagine us all now coming back to England and the various places that we dispersed to, and then going and working with people and then switching on those codes. And those people will travel and meet other people and they will switch it on again. So it's like a beautiful, like the symbiotic relationship between the codes. And so what my guides also said to me, what the dragon said to me was like, the reason that we're doing this dragon alchemy course, the reason that we are working through the fear centers is it works exactly the same. So just as you had a shame center that you needed to like drop so you could get those codes, what's going to happen is through the 7 centers of fear, there will be codes in there for you that you get to work with. There will be fears that you will be dropping. And this means that you step deeper into your power, your connection, like your soul gifts and who you are. Because underneath every single layer of that is your gift. And what I saw for myself so clearly as I was going through this process was the minute that I dropped the shame, it was like my powers, so my connection with Gaia deepened. The sessions that I've subsequently had has been absolutely mind-blowing, because it's like my body is able to take in way more energy from Gaia, so that the people that I work with are having a completely different experience to what they would have had 6 months ago with me. So for me, like letting go of shame has opened up my body so that I can bring more energy through to serve the people that I work with, right? So this is the thing. So like every time we unlock something, it's going to change something in our lives, okay? So if you are going to be unlocking these fear codes, how will your gifts show up through there? What will you be able to see about yourself, and what will you experience when you're not holding that cap of fear over the gifts, over the codes that is part of your soul blueprint. Okay, and that's the point of the course. And I was just like, thanks for sharing, guys. Now we know. And it was just so beautiful to see how, like, these things is like how we are taking these things back. And I remember when I was running that beautiful tour that I did in 2024, when I took all the people around to the sacred sites here in England, and my guides had said to me, those codes of the divine feminine that is held in the heart of Gaia here, they need to go to different places. And I was so blown away because we had people from like Africa, Australia, America, Canada, like all over the world, Europe. And it was just like, oh my goodness, all of these people were going to take these codes back to their lands. And in the work that they do with other people and with the land, they are like distributing this weaving so that the earth actually ends up like this beautiful golden woven ball of all these codes that we are basically integrating and like having in our bodies and really experiencing and sharing with other people. So yeah, so that's how that all wove together for me. And it was really quite profound. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything else here, but yeah, I think that's the most important things that I need to share with you. And if you're listening to this and you are like, I really want to, start to unravel and really start to go to the depth of, because this is about like our purpose, right? This is about like what are we doing here and our earth work, and like how are we weaving back these parts, right? And it was so beautiful for me as well, because it's like this understanding that like the water work, because I actually spent some time the last day in the morning. I was all by myself on the roof, and we had a meditation every morning, speaking about like, just like having a connection, and then like connecting with the sun. And on my first morning there, I had this wild experience with the sun where I was like opening my eyes. So we had meditated, and then like as I opened my eyes, it was the first time I saw the sun, because we meditated through the sunrise. And as I slowly opened my eyes, I saw these incredible like plasma bubbles that was just like streaming towards me, and I could see like all of this coming into my body. And I again had this connection with these codes that were written in my eyes, and I could again see them. And the last time I'd seen them was when I was in Mexico after a mushroom ceremony, and I was just like, oh my God, the codes are still there, and I could see the writing, and it was so beautiful. And I was just filled with so much energy from the sun and all of these beautiful cosmic codes that also like came in, and I was just like, this is absolutely incredible. And I was just like, I was crying because I was just so happy. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. This is wonderful. I love this work so much. And then a couple of days later, on our second last day, I was there by myself, and I had again like just sat and opened my eyes to the sun, and again I had this massive like download like from the sun into my body. And many moons ago, I was told by this lovely psychic guy who's since passed away, but he said to me, your name was Solaris Musi, and you worked with the sun. And I was just like, yes, I can feel that. And so as I sat on the roof, I started connecting with the water, and I started weaving those energies back to the heart, back to Glastonbury, back to the heart chakra. And I could see how like pulling all of those energies and reconnecting them and binding them back together, this is what we do. So if you are a water weaver, if you are a grid worker, we're weaving the world back together, pieces of Gaia that needs to be strengthened. We're weaving that together, taking those beautiful primal mother codes back to the heart, right? So that that remembering is happening. It is so sacred, and this work is so beautiful, and it's just so important. So yeah, like, oh man, I can wax lyrical about like all this shit forever. So yeah, so these are the important things. And also, just like on that note, like we're going to be in Glastonbury in June for our final Project Earthwork Glastonbury workshop. And so, we will be working with the water there. We're going to be working with the land. We're going to be doing all these things. We have conversations about things like this, about the importance of what we are doing as grid workers, as people who are, like deeply connected to Gaia and really caring about her. So if you fancy joining us, there's a couple of spaces left, and we would absolutely love to have you there. And we'll be sending out more information about this soon as well. So just watch the space. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening. It was such a big experience for me, this, and I'm so grateful for the women who held us there, for Kate and Jane, and for Daisy who taught us how to twerk as well, which is freaking amazing. This beautiful sacred expression of like energy and stuff. And oh man, I just had the best time, and it was such an experience. So do go and follow them. I'll paste their details down at the bottom. It's just really powerful work when we start to reclaim our bodies and the power that we have within ourselves. So I'm wishing you a beautiful day. If you want to join us, we are starting on the 5th of May, 2026. I don't know in what year you might hear this, but 5th of May, Dragon Alchemy course is starting. I would absolutely love to have you there and to journey with us and the dragons. And yeah, it would just be amazing. So have a beautiful day, and yeah, please share this with anyone that you think might need to hear this as well. Sending you lots of love, and I'll be back very soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Base